At this time, we'll do the pledge, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, any changes, modifications to the minutes from our last meeting in October?
I make the motion we approve them.
We have a motion to approve the minutes, and we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Jay Gannett sent out the treasurer's report. Was there any questions? I'm going to, when we get down further, I'm going to bring up some modifications that I want to submit to the budget to the state. I can probably answer questions then if you have any, unless there was no questions, and I'll entertain a motion to accept it as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to accept the treasurer's report as distributed by our treasurer, Jay Gannett. Any further discussion?
Second.
Larry Gerard.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. So the stars aligned for the Constableville transfer. I don't know how it happened, but everything lined up. So our court stenographer, Savetta, is here, so I'm going to move into that. So this is the CON report. We received the CON in the office on 1/22/20. On 1/27/20, we received from the state, the FNC, that everything was good. On the 28th, we deemed it complete and notified them that it was complete at that time. It was posted on the website for you all to look at on the 28th, and we sent out an email to you if you wanted to look at it. So the CON committee brings forth a seconded motion to approve the transfer of service operating authority from Constableville Volunteer Fire Company, Inc. to Constableville Ambulance, Inc. Ron?
I don't recall seeing on the web the letter from the state for the state approval of the.
That probably didn't get posted, but I do have it, and I'd be glad to
I
share it with
don't,
you.
no, I don't need, I'm just commenting that I didn't see it on there.
Okay.
Yeah, because we moved this one right along, so.
That's nice, that's good.
Like I
By the way,
said,
I'm enjoying my retirement from the CON chair.
like I said, the stars just aligned. Savetta was available, and we were having this meeting, and I just didn't want them to have the additional expense of another one if we could avoid it. So, any further questions on this CON for Constableville? At this time, we need to do a roll call vote. Ann, could you do a roll call vote for me, please?
All right. Paul Barter,
Yes.
Mark Dalton,
Yes.
Mark Evers,
Yes.
Art Garno,
Yes.
Larry Gerard,
Yes.
Joshua Levesque,
Yes.
Robert McKenzie,
Yes.
Carol Munch, Bobby Simpson,
Yes.
Debbie Singleton,
Yes.
Ron Smith,
Yes.
Dottie Suter,
Yes.
Bruce Wright,
Yes.
Matthew Yelton,
Yes.
No.
Or abstained.
abstained.
With conflict.
Okay,
It is unanimous.
yep, unanimous.
Thank you so much. Any further on that? If not, well, poor Savetta drives longer to get here than she does to do these meetings.
Quite all right.
We good? Thank you, Savetta. I'll get you that stuff tomorrow. Great.
You want me to make her a quick copy?
You can?
So set up.
I gotta type that up.
You gotta read minutes.
Okay, moving on to correspondence. enforcement list, dated December 17th. Wayne Edgar from Brooklyn, New York, suspended for 1 year and 5 1/2 months, effective 11/27/19. 11 1/2 months of the suspension shall be deemed to be served concurrently with the respondent's period in restricted status. The remaining 6 months are stayed, providing no violations, for 3 years from 11/27/19. Assess the civil penalty of $5,000. $4,500 is stayed for violations of 10 NYCRR Part 816A2. The second one is dated January 21st for Michael Alicia from Woodhaven, New York. Please be advised that as a result of an investigation conducted by the Department of Health, the following individuals' New York certification has been revoked effective 1/10/20 for violations of 10 NYCRR Part 816A8. Those are the only enforcements I have. Does anybody else have any correspondence? You want to read under the correspondence here and the things from the stroke?
Sorry, especially this phone. So we're, maybe not, I don't know where they went.
Sarah didn't take them.
Did Sarah take them? We received multiple notifications for comprehensive stroke centers. Most of them were in the New York City area, Albany to be included with those. And we received correspondence for one primary stroke center, which was Samaritan Medical Center right here in Watertown. Sarah must have taken them with her.
She had a pile here. She must have stuff. Took it in. Okay. Any other correspondence? Moving on to committee reports. Air Medical. Matt, do you want to give a report?
So, our spring education day is coming up on May 8th. It's at Casa Larga this year in Fairport, New York. The fall education day is October 2nd. That'll be again at Vernon Downs. There's plenty of room. We have room for 200 capacity in both of those, and we're actually splitting tracks now, so there'll be ALS and BLS CMEs available throughout the entirety of the day. A quick announcement about our Rome base. It's only moved a few hangars, but it is notable. We moved from 645 Bomber Drive to 605 Bomber Drive. So instead of the last hangar on the road, we're the first hangar on the road. Much nicer accommodations, brand new refurbished hangar, but if anybody visits our Rome location, we've moved just a few over. As of December 26th, our Rome and Marcellus bases both were equipped with cyano kits and automated CPR devices. We use the Zoll Auto Pulse now. There are some specific kind of contraindications of those. Like any other automated CPR device, traumatic arrest is the ultimate contraindication for them. But we are rolling out some education on those devices and some changes in our utilization and procedures as far as that goes. But we will be reaching out to area departments to get everybody up to speed on the indications for cyano kits and the benefits to both those and the CPR devices. The CPR devices were really kind of a big thing with these BLS 12 leads being done and these STEMI patients potentially being flown to places like St. Joe's. So we preemptively put those on those kinds of patients just in case they do arrest in flight. Then we can provide that adequate, good quality CPR in flight to the Cardiac Center of Excellence kind of thing. So short of that, this season's been rough on everybody, I think, in the air medical industry as far as the weather goes, but call volume seems to be doing very well even despite the snow. Anticipating an early spring, I hope.
How is that going to do yourself? On to auditing. So I continue to monthly sit down with Jonathan and audit the books. I go through I have the hard copy of the bank statement, and I go and look at checks that have been written to make sure the amounts agree. And then we look at any old checks. We had one that's almost 9 months old now, we've not heard back from the person, so I authorized him to void the check out in the account because it's not any good after so many months. So we're trying to make sure we're staying on top of that and getting that done. So under here, Ann, why don't we go ahead and review the budget. So I'm going to go over line by line with you. It's not that many, remember. It's only 25,000 that we have to play with. Some changes, and I've been provided this form from the state to submit for modification to our budget. So the first line is contractual services. We budgeted at 13,100, and we're going to come in at 12,100. And I'm saying we're reducing it by 1,000 because the audit of the books is not going to be performed until the beginning of May. For this last year, we have to wait until we close the period out at the end of March. And then we need to wait to get the bank statements and reconcile and everything before the audit can be done. So that $1,000 will not be spent. Under travel, we budgeted $54,3920. And I'm lowering that by $4,000. And I have not been attending the meetings because of my commitment teaching that daytime EMT class. And we now have a seated REMSCO delegate,
Yay.
Mark, and so his reimbursement comes from the state, so that doesn't come out of those funds. So I'm lowering that by $4,000. Equipment was always at 0. The space, property, utilities, we budgeted 1,020, and that's where we're going to come in at. Operating expenses, I need to add $50.70 there, and we overspent postage. We overspent sending things to the state when we were working on our budgets and all that stuff, because everything that I sent, we sent certified, so we've overspent by $34.50, so I'm going to just add $50.70 to give us a little leeway there. The next one, the next one is meetings. We have budgeted $200 here to do mileage reimbursement, and we've only spent $38.43. So I'm saying I'm going to take $100 out of there. Some people are doing ride sharing coming to these meetings. Some people, their agencies are covering the cost, and then some of us just don't submit. So I'm leaving money in there to cover those. I understand some of you have a large distance to travel, and we truly appreciate you coming. So I've left the money in there to cover you for this meeting to reimburse you. The next line is operating or other.
I roll the mouse and it just does a big jump.
Okay. So other, we have budgeted $3,517.80. I want to move $5,000 into that, and that's from the minuses up above, bringing that to $8,517.80. So the cost of the conference center rental has increased from $2,500 to $4,000. And this increase is really associated to the additional lecture rooms and space that we've kind of taken over up there. When we started, we just used a couple rooms, then we went to 3, and we went to 4, and now we're at 7. So it's just reimbursing them the cost of doing that. And the rental is due 30 days prior to the event, so that will be paid on March 23rd. So those funds will come out of there. And that takes care of, we have not spent any funds out of there yet. So I'm going to take the $4,000 from there, and we have a couple other expenses that we're going to look at incurring this year. Perhaps our key speaker that we're bringing into Vital Signs, we're going to be able to book their airfare and some things, and Spring Fling. Look at booking their airfare and things under this budget and getting that taken care of. So my goal is to spend our entire $25,000. We may be 100 or so short, but we're going to do our best to make sure that we spend our $25,000 and that we can spend it on things that we can get reimbursed for. Does anybody have any questions on the proposed modifications so that I could get that to the state tomorrow?
Do you need a motion?
I do.
I make a motion that we approve the budget as amended.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second to again, go ahead and make those changes so that we can move the funds where we need to cover our expenses and cover items associated with spring fling. Any further discussion?
Good job.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Thank you very much. So I'll get that out tomorrow to get that out of here. Bylaw, Bobby, I don't think there's really been anything. CON, we already covered that up above, unless anybody knows of any additional CONs that are coming our way.
So I did get a request from Turin Fire Department for information, just a request. So they may be considering doing the same thing Constableville did.
And under CON, I would like to recognize Matt for a great job on putting that together, having all the stuff there that we needed and
It definitely wasn't all me. Thankfully, Jennifer, our treasurer, put a lot of work in on the backside of things too.
Executive committee. We continue to try to meet monthly, Mark, myself, Ann, and Dr. Delaney, and just review things, see where we're at. One of the things that we're going to concentrate some effort on is some looking at the future and prospects as we're all getting older on who is in line to do some succession planning for the council, for the office and things like that. So there'll be more to come on that as we kind of put some emphasis there on succession planning. Dave is not here. Legislation, is there anything, Mark, that we need to discuss under that?
Sure. The governor's budget came out, and instead of providing information on how much they're going to try and cut from us in Medicaid, they are redesigning Medicaid through a Medicaid redesign team that has been instructed they need to cut $2.5 billion out of the Medicaid budget without disrupting services to the end user. Unless things have changed in the last few days, the Commissioner of Health has absolutely no idea who is on this MRT, what groups of people will be represented on this MRT, or anything about the MRT other than that the governor has ordered it. They're not even sure there's statutory authority for it to exist. If you'd like to see more, go to minute 14 of the budget hearing on Medicaid from January 29th. You will get all your answers in the first 10 minutes from the first senator that talks.
Did you, I wasn't able to because I was teaching. Did you guys go down to
Yes.
Albany? So
Yes.
maybe Bruce or one of you could give an update on that?
EMS was mentioned in the 5 or so hours that I was there to be part of the MRT 8 to 10 times. There was an increased recognition of EMS. Half the room was EMS, and it was well noted. I guess at this point my statement is be afraid. There's not a great, nobody in Albany has any real idea of what this committee is going to do other than they need to cut $2.5 billion out. And where it's going to come from if you can't affect services to the end user means it's got to come out of reimbursements somehow or another across the board.
So one of the correspondences that was here was a letter I received from Mark Walczyk's office that he sent to Governor Cuomo, stating the importance of EMS and the importance of somebody from EMS being on the team. And we had the same support letter from the Northern Area Health Education
That was
Center.
actually from a rural health
Education.
Rural health center.
Rural
or
Health
something.
Center.
So, We will be keeping people informed as we get information. But at this point, there is absolutely no information on it, other than the governor ordered it in his budget. You want to talk about cost collection data while we're here?
We can, I was gonna do legislation for national too, but you can do it under state.
Cost collection data, they did a educational day, I guess, in Syracuse 2 Fridays ago. The good news is, anyone that bills Medicare is gonna get nailed with that. The good news is it is much more straightforward than I was expecting.
Yep.
The American Ambulance Association has a tool that I would consider if I had my number picked. And I would also, a lot of it is probably going to involve an accountant. And making sure that your line items are right. As we get some quote-unquote cliff notes from that class, I'll get them to Debbie to get out, or Jonathan to get out to people. A lot of it is getting your line items on your financial documents aligned with what they're looking at now, so that you're ahead of the game, would be my kind of best statement. Again, a lot of it's going to involve working with your accountant, but if your books are in decent shape and have been audited, I was pleasantly surprised with how straightforward it seems it's going to be.
That tool from the AAAs, that's a deal maker right there. They couldn't stress it enough that if your number had been picked, when we say number, NPI number, which is your national provider number, was picked for this data collection, you need to participate in it, or else you will get a 10% hit from Medicare, and they say, don't take the hit because it's going to hurt you in the long run. And you still have a risk of being audited, even though you just take a 10% hit and don't give them any information. That's going to also skew the numbers overall that they take in nationally, which will hurt us.
I also want to clarify, thanks to Fluffy, not only your expense lines, but your income lines. They have 5 or 6 categories broken down for revenue lines from different medical billing processes. I would work with whoever does your billing to get those lines set up now. And again, as soon as we get some of the cliff notes from it, I'll get it to Jonathan to get out to agencies so people are prepared. But
AAA has 3 different membership categories that you can join, and it's based on your call volume. There's a minimum amount, so most of us are falling under the minimum, but if you go to American Ambulance Association, there is a tab there that gives you that, and do not wait until you get your letter saying, surprise, their stance is you should know about this. We put this out, and it can be ABC 360 when they talked about it. Not doing it is leading them to think you have something to
yes.
hide, and that you're saying you're doing some fraudulent things whether you are or not, and so just take care of it up front, and then you're going to be in good shape.
And for agencies without a huge budget, SAVIC has a grant out there to offset the cost of the American Ambulance Association information and their tool. If you go to ambulance.org and get into the cost collection data area, the grant information is in there.
So on a national, the EMS on the Hill today is in March. It is on a Wednesday, Tuesday, they're doing their EMS transformation class again. I know Chris and I are going down. I know you said it would have been nice last time to know. If you're an NAEMT member, then you get the flyer telling you our day on the Hill is coming up. I think it's even more important this year with everything that's going on down there that we're represented. Last year for New York, we had a very large contingent, which was wonderful. So hopefully everybody will be going down again. So that is in March. So at the April meeting, I will report some more on that. Membership, Carol.
We have 2 applicants, one for Jefferson County, one for Lewis County. The first one I'll do is Jefferson County comes as a second in the motion. This is for Michael Bennett. He's Karen Bennett. And he is Elsa Moon.
Any questions on Michael Bennett joining as a Jefferson County member? This comes in seconded motion, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
Second applicant is Melissa Yancey.
Yancey.
She is from Lewis County. She is a dispatcher, which we will add in on there. Also comes as a second in motion, and looking for a vote.
Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So, we still have a couple openings. We have one in Jefferson County. I will be following up with Joe Plummer from Fire and Emergency Management because I had sent the stuff to Neil Ravenberg, who was Joe Bova's replacement after the last one, about seeing if he was going to join us or not. If not, then we're going to look at trying to fill that position. And folks, we still have 2 openings in Lewis County. So we need to try to get these positions filled so that we have equal representation when it comes to voting. So the applications are online under our website. They can pull it there. So some folks in Lewis County can give us some ideas, and you know, if we need to go meet with some people and try to do some recruiting or whatever, but let's see if we can't get those positions filled so that we're at our 10 per county. Thank you, Carol. It's nominating time. Dottie, if you would stay the chair of that. I need a representative from St. Lawrence and one from Jefferson County to sit on this. The 2 positions that we'll be filling at our annual meeting in April is vice chair and treasurer. Vice chair and treasurer. So, do I have a volunteer from Jefferson County? Bobby Simpson? You want to write that down, Dottie, so you have it? And how about from Lewis County? Okay, Matt, thank you so much for volunteering.
I'll get on it.
See, your head was moving. I think,
I think it was a nod.
Not scratch your nose at the auction.
So we will, again, it's vice chair, treasurer. If you remember when we made the changes to our bylaws, they're now a 2-year term, and we only fill 2 1-year even years. We fill the vice chair and treasurer. Odd years, we fill the chair and the secretary so that we have some continuity going forward.
Did you want somebody from St. Lawrence?
Oh, I'm sorry, I put it.
Being as though Dottie.
Oh, I put Dottie's.
You're welcome, Matt.
You're in the clear.
So Bob,
I owe you
I'm
one,
sorry,
Beavers.
St. Lawrence.
I owe you.
Okay, Art, it's you. The pickings are kind of slim here tonight from your,
I see that.
Yeah, what do you call my St. Lawrence County?
sorry, thank you for pointing that out.
Well, I got thinking here for a minute.
Okay, Peter, Mark,
So we stole Karen Blackburn from whatever committee she was on. And have had a few to several phone chats with her and some video people that she has contacts with. And I believe we're going to have a draft of a 90-ish second, what is EMS, what are the problems EMS is facing, and awareness video that can be shared on social media. I believe the draft is expected around the 15th.
Yep.
Off the top of my head, that's professionally done. And we're hoping to obviously get some social media time, possibly some traditional media exposure with it as well. And that is done by, Ashley is her name. I don't remember what company she's from though. Do you? Anyway, it's something that NAHAC has connections with. that has offered to do this for free for us, and they have done very good work in the past on similar projects. So hopefully we'll have a draft in a week or two. Oh, and EMS awards. EMS awards. Give me like a nominations. Bug everybody. Get nominations. And I think Jonathan went, for whatever reason, the thing did not go out on the mailer this week. We'll make sure it goes out. They're due March 6th, I believe.
6 or 15, yeah. Somewhere around there.
So, but get award nominations. Like, please get award nominations. Pretty please, with sugar on top. And that is it.
Ian, over to you.
Well, since this is up here, we did, the REMAC did a review of a bunch of the policy statements. They were all approved to be changed. Most of the changes are updating to the 2019 protocols. The only one that didn't is we were going to continue to have nitrate glycerin as an option. But some of them, some of the policies we will be getting rid of as they are no longer relevant, such as the mask trousers or transfer of care because they are now covered in the protocols. The changes to the minimum equipment list were approved. So I'll just give you a little quick glance at those. Again, it's moving to Torlac as a required medication, optional meds of acetaminophen and ibuprofen. Again, this will go back in, even though this was approved as is, but with the change in the other approval, it's going to put this back in, which I didn't notice until just now, as an optional med. Remove McGill forceps and CPAP from the AEMT level because they're not in the curriculum, although remember, they may have a BLS adjunct with the additional 3 hours of training to have BLS CPAP. Remove the 30 cc syringe and the second pediatric measure device. Those were all approved. Whoops, that's later. That's later in the game. Back to my report. Can't even get over to the slide, so. Sorry, I don't have enough room here to get to the slideshow one.
Just go right down the bottom. Over by your
from
percentage.
beginning. There we go. All right. So basically, the December Regional Stroke Trauma Advisory Committee was canceled. I did not travel down for just the trauma committee. I did try to call in. I caught bits and pieces of it. The next meeting will be in March for both. There is a link to Upstate's trauma webpage. It's got a lot of trauma facts on there. It's good education for the EMS folks. And just a reminder that they'll always take trauma and stroke patients even if they are on diversion. The 2020 Stroke Holiday Meeting, which is a meeting that we do with Upstate. We do those quarterly, and those are the dates for that. If somebody doesn't catch them here and wants them, just let me know. No surprise, the New York State CME manual is updated. They're currently working on online submission for CME renewal. So the new forms were, I didn't look today. I didn't look over the weekend or today. Last I knew, the new forms were not posted. They did send them to the program agency directors, but they ask us not to post them because they don't want the links to remain there once the online submission. So we did send them out to our agencies, and again, anybody can request them from us and we'll get them to them. So the REMAC approved an upgrade for the Lisbon Volunteer Fire Corporation from BLS to AEMT with a waiver for intubation equipment. They will still carry supraglottics, but with the change in intubation being removed from the curriculum, we will probably foresee change in the collaborative protocols regarding this as well. Hammond Fire and Rescue, they were AEMT, they're down to BLS. They lapsed their CON, so in order to be reapproved, they have to submit a level of care packet to go back up to the AEMT level. And then JS Coster, previously we approved them to go to AEMT. They have decided to remain at the BLS level. And so there's some public access defibrillation at original and updates that we received over the last quarter. And we had 2 uses that were reported. Sadly, neither one of them were successful. The REMAC approved for BLS Narcan, JS Coster Fire Department, and Turin Fire Department. Those were the only adjuncts we had brought forward. So EPCR, we're doing really good in getting everybody to electronic. I think it's April of 2021 that the REMAC motion to have all the transport and ALS at bars and electronic. And so we talked about possibly sending out a reminder later this year. All current EPCR agencies, though, we are all transitioned to NEMSIS v3, and that's important because we will hopefully be able to pull more data. So for the Coverdale Stroke Program, the hospital HUD portion of it, Peter Brody from the state, and he's now the chief of the informatics unit there, will be coming up on February 13th and 14th. He's going to work with Jonathan and I on some report writing. And on the 14th, we're going to be inviting the hospitals here or via conference call to, again, tell them that they need to get signed up into the Hospital Hub program to get charts, because now no matter what vendor the agency uses, all the charts go into our regional bridge in which the hospitals can access them if they're transported to their facility. So that will mean that agencies will no longer have to worry about faxing their PCRs. So it's a more secure way for the hospital to get their information. The hospitals were all sent a Dear Administrator letter in September of 2018. I've talked about this at multiple meetings, although I know some hospitals are like, what? What's that? We've never heard of that. But we will hopefully set a deadline that'll be the point that they need to go in there to get their charts. So again, unless you're paper, then you need to leave them, make sure charts are getting done timely. Every agency that is EPCR filled out a 5136 and said, we're going to do our charts within 2 hours or by the end of our shift. Most generally, that's not necessarily happening all the time, but that's important to happen. And now that we're all electronic, that can be tracked. That's my first report to come up when Peter comes. So again, remember, it is a requirement for EMTs to do a pre-hospital care report through Part 800. So that will be my Valentine's Day with Peter. Hammond, Cranberry Lake, and Star Lake are delinquent and sending in their paper PCRs. The state has now asked us to mail them monthly, so we do have to report these routinely, and we also have to report these on our quarterly report. They receive notices every month that we need them, and we have some medical directors working on them now. The following CME evaluator agencies were approved by the REMAC. They were given provisional approval. I did multiple skills sessions towards the end of the year. The BLS skills were done. And we really had a good response to those. And at most of the sessions, they were very appreciative because they haven't had the opportunity to use albuterol or check and inject or any of those. So they found it very good and educational. Leadership Conference, we had approximately 40 in attendance. A huge thank you to, and this was over the weekend, a huge thank you to the North Area Health Education Center, E5 Support Services, Mercy Flight, LifeNet of New York, and St. Lawrence Health System for helping us make this possible. We had a lot of leadership from our local agencies that attended this, and our presenters did a great job. Upcoming training, so SUNY Upstate got a grant. We've helped work on setting these up, and I didn't change this like I told Mark I would, but I will change that to Canton Rescue. And the public health one is in Watertown on March 28th and 29th, and they'll be doing an 8-hour one on April 26th at Tiers and June 6th at Lewis County Search and Rescue. We're potentially going to do a difficult airway. Sorry, Paul, for stealing your thunder there. If we can get a evaluator up, I think we're going to talk about the contract at some point in this meeting. Mackenzie and I are going to be doing a presentation on the crisis in EMS at Tuck Hill Commission and Spring Fling, April 23rd to 26th. We're going to need volunteers to help during the conference, and we are still working on getting the schedule done. I inspected Carthage's fly car. EM resource, we've had to reschedule this conference call with Jonathan being out, and I have to go to Albany tomorrow, and that was when it was scheduled, so I don't have a new date yet. But we did meet with Samaritan Medical Center, and this needs to get up and running as well. We have some new pediatric emergency care coordinators, Lewis County Search and Rescue, Beaver Falls, Fort Drum, Thousand Islands, and I think Lions Fall. They were here last time, but whatever. Congratulations, and thank you all for paying additional attention to your pediatric patients, and we look forward to some more good things to come out of this program at the state. There's just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that I did. We also did the BLS. We assisted the state with the BLS protocol updates. We have access to the backside of the state learning management system, so we were able to pull reports, and we sent in the mail a roster of who was logged into the system around the November timeframe, so agencies could get after their providers to get their BLS update done. And the ALS update, we made a program with the other neighboring regions and the tests, and for the most part, most of our providers were compliant. So I'm sure I've forgotten something. Mark's going to talk a little bit in the state EMS meetings about a new link where protocol submissions can be, and we'll be getting that sent out to everybody, or Jonathan may have already sent it out to you. A new link where protocol submissions suggestions can be sent anytime. So that is out. So it's a nice Survey Monkey. So if you're thinking about it, submit it, and then they'll be reviewed routinely. So questions for the program agency?
Questions? Moving on, Larry, safety?
Nothing at this time?
If anybody gets the, safety calls or whatever, you'll notice that for the first 20 days of January, we had 20 deaths on highways, either fire, law, or EMS. And that was just a very large number. So we really need to put some emphasis with our agencies on making sure they're safe when they're out on the highways and things, so that we don't continue with that trend. So.
And I'll add to that, keep your head on a swivel. It was, 11 years ago? An incident up here. And there was just an incident, where someone's ambulance got hit with a gunfire. Just, you know where it was?
AMR, yeah, they had a little incident.
Yeah. So, I think they hit a splint, cup. That caught, at least it caused some damage. So just keep your head on a swivel, be aware, and go from there.
I I had under old business the REMSCO appointment, because we finally have a REMSCO appointment. Mark has been officially appointed, so we'll let him give the report from State Council.
He's stealing my liquid gold. EMS on Tour Day is Sunday, May 17th. They're going to get out a toolkit for it. The memorial is May 19th. It's a Tuesday at the Egg. And a presence is always great at any of those. Vital signs will be in Saratoga October 29th through November 1st. And it sounds like they're putting keeping with the momentum that they had from last year, which sounds like it was a very well-reviewed conference. They've increased the number of state meetings for the next 2 years because they're pushing regulatory changes forward. So hold on. Mercy Flight Central had their protocols approved. And the opening statement and medical standards where the ground rules are there's no throwing, kicking, screaming, one person at a time, and no vulgarity. So that's how quickly things are changing, is there's actually disagreement. As Ann mentioned, the red cap system is a way for regions and providers to go and select their region and enter protocol ideas. Part of what they did throughout the meetings was create a timeline for protocols. So protocols, unless there's some sort of massive emergency, are going to be rolled out once a year. And they're going to try and not roll out BLS and ALS protocol changes in the same year, etc. They're going to be looking at not only the adult metrics that were reported on a couple months ago, but also some pediatric metrics, rate, effort, SpO2, and assessment. And for them to get data on assessment, it needs to be clicking some sort of respiratory assessment, has to be selected as a drop-down or selection box. As a result of a legal decision from the western part of the state, REMACs no longer have the ability to restrict, suspend, or revoke privileges, at least temporarily. It's a result of a lack of due process. The guidance from the state on this is that agency medical directors have the ability to restrict, suspend, or revoke a provider's ability to practice in their agency. The state has also said that if the REMAC does an investigation and they get to a point where they need to suspend somebody, to call them and they will assist with the process. There is a way to suspend a provider through a commissioner's summative suspension, which is a much longer process to get out of had they been suspended at the REMAC level. As Ann mentioned, there's a delay with electronic submission of CME recertifications. The temporary forms are out. The impression I've gotten, and I don't know if John can clarify, everything is going to be electronically submitted in a similar platform to how the National Registry is, in which the provider, the EMT submits the data onto a website, provides the supporting documentation. It's electronically sent to the agency medical director and the agency CME manager, and then it's sent to the state. That is the impression I've gotten as to how it works. There is a delay in that. So also you may end up having to change your CME policies to reflect it. When that comes out, when we see the end product, it's something we'll have to look at. Computer-based testing, paramedics are only computer-based testing right now. And CLIs and CICs, I'm sorry. Everybody else, AEMTs will be computer-based, have a computer-based option in the near future than EMT and the other levels. So there's some change at the core sponsor level. It's no longer an exam date, it's an end date. Paperwork will be due 2 weeks prior to the end date. That's your practical skills exams, all that other good stuff. If the practical skills exam is less than 2 weeks from the end date, you're going to have to, the students will not be able to test at that date. So schedule the practical exams 2 weeks from the prescribed end date of the class. They will be sending all the paper exams for every student enrolled to the exam site. So if a student goes and does computer-based testing and fails, they have the option to go do the paper test at the exam site, provided the computer-based testing was before the testing. That will count as a retest if you fail. Yeah, if you go and fail a paper test, you can sign up for the computer-based testing. You must contact the Bureau of EMS before you do a second computer-based testing attempt. And obviously they will all count as retests. Yeah. Well, I'm looking for the right word. There's a lot of words on this page. If you do not contact the department before you do your second computer-based attempt, they will put you on the corner of a desk where you will sit forever and ever and ever. It goes to a work table is the quote that was given.
It goes somewhere and never landed.
And be careful on computer-based testing. Make sure students are aware to be careful that they're not accidentally skipping questions. I guess that was when the state was testing it. The mouse was a little sensitive or something on a couple of them, and they skipped some questions. I feel like I'm missing a page.
Sarah's probably got that too.
Sarah took everything. Sarah took all the papers.
I say, come on, Jim, you can do better than that.
I can keep us here all night if you want. All right. There were some.
She took my statement.
I really do feel like I'm missing a page. Some stuff came through on the safety end that involves construction and design after whatever date it's finally approved in the regs. Stretcher restraint devices, not the traditional horns, but the actual restraint devices. Rear cameras, drive cameras, ability to secure all items 3 pounds or more with a bracket mounted retention systems. Anti-theft devices other than igniter, ignition or fob, some form of a kill switch will all be required on ambulances, as well as the latest CAS or NFPA standards. There's some policy updates coming. Mutual aid policy is at the Bureau leadership. CON versus closest available is going to be looked at. Getting there. Oh, okay. I highlighted it somewhere. The REMSCOs need to be looking at county mutual aid policies. I think I saw on the agenda that Lewis County's is here tonight. We need to be seeing county mutual aid policies and approving them on a regular basis. Ambulance transfusion service has been changed. They are expecting the changes to be going up to the leadership in the next few days. They believe they're going to have the policy available at the March meeting. The question was asked at REMAC, and I know there's a few agencies with that pending. I wouldn't wait till the new guidance comes out because you are not going to get an approval before March. Don't look up students in the health commerce system to see if they passed. The course sponsor has until let the course sponsor tell them they passed. And there's some funding changes. All providers are eligible, including CFRs, for state CME recertification funding. And the last update to the funding was 1996.
It's not increasing.
It's not
just
increasing.
It's just adding the CFRs in.
So when things are moving, things are moving. These are emergency regulation changes that will be in effect in the next probably 2 weeks. Continuous practice now means anybody who has demonstrated the knowledge and skill to provide care at a specific level. You can file CMEs electronically, because we're going to an electronic platform. Certification, the state can develop its own certification exam. In addition, the state can use any exam developed or administered by other organizations that meets or exceeds New York State standards as authorized. In other words, if you take the National Registry exam, you do not need to take a state exam anymore. The National Registry exam will count. You can get certified off of a registry exam. You send them the registry card, and they will send you a state card for initial certification. Candidates who fail to pass a psychomodal examination after a total of 2 full attempts are required to take a complete full EMS education program at the level of certification sought. If you fail, you can take a practical skills exam at a lower level of certification within 1 year of the last attempt, the level of certification originally sought. So if you fail a paramedic's practical skills exam, you can take a basic EMT practical skills to keep your certification. Anybody who is, if a member or veteran of the United States military and have an approved medical training program from Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guards that meets or exceeds the national EMS education guidelines within the last 3 years, you send proof of that, they send you a card at the appropriate level. It's the same thing with registry. It's the same thing with registry. If you have a registry card, they will send you a New York State certification to the end of your registry expiration date, and then you'll have to recertify. REMSCO sent out a New York State EMS workforce, or the results of this workforce survey. Ann's got the document. We'll make sure Jonathan gets it out in the near future. You need to read the document. It's important. Things are moving, and things are moving very, very quickly. There's going to be a lot of changes coming. Lots and lots and lots of changes. The system at the state level was pretty stagnant for a number of years, and there's a lot of regs and a lot of policy statements that are going to be updated to move us up to 2020. So when I say hang on, I mean hang on, because things are going to be moving very quickly. That is it.
So we talked about policies coming out. Everybody, all agencies should be looking at the coronavirus. It was last updated on the 30th. If you do not have N95 testing for your members, you need to get that done. You need to have some bunny suits available. But they're saying that, you know, they're looking at it and things are changing so much that it was last updated on the 30th. And when I looked at it this afternoon, it was still the 30th. But it could have changed since I came here at 3 today. So agencies, please make sure you're looking at that coronavirus and staying up on that to make sure that you're keeping your folks safe. Paul, anything under training and education?
Nothing right at this point. We'll be covering that under the county.
Okay. Old business, oh, sorry, county reports. Paul, go ahead
I
with your.
guess I'll talk about it now.
Yeah.
Well, we've been extremely busy, and all good stuff. Currently, we've got 3 of our courses still going on. We just started another original and refresher course. We have 31 students here in the Watertown class. We have in that for the Soldier for Life. For those that aren't familiar, these are soldiers transitioning out. We had 2 in our first, that neither one of them completed, but now we've got 4 in this one, and they're progressing nicely. Our high school class still going strong, still have 21 students in it. We are starting a CFR refresher class next week. So that's going to be new. We have, we're preparing not right as we speak, but this week, we've notified the college. We're going to be doing a basic original refresher in August, Watertown, basic refresher in Lowville. We're going to be doing a CFR, and we're going to be doing a paramedic refresher. We're going to put that onto the program agency to get that out. Last time we did this, we had a class of like 9, but we literally had them from all over the state because they're not putting on refresher classes. So we're going to offer one. We've had at least 4 people that have voiced, so we're going to put one on. We want to open it up to anybody that wants to do a refresher. So that'll be starting in August.
Can I just verify you said a basic original?
There'll be a basic with a refresher. Every time we do a basic, we do a refresher with
Okay.
it. Here and in Lowville,
Okay.
search and rescue. We'll be doing a CFR.
Got that.
Okay. Our advanced class that was scheduled to start last week was canceled for lack of enrollment. We had, prior to the class start, a total of, I think Debbie had 2 or 3. We had 1 at the office. So we didn't have enough people to run the class, so we unfortunately had to cancel that. And probably we'll try again next spring.
Yep, next
Okay.
January.
We have our OD map. Mission has greatly increased. The participation is markedly better. I think that was secondary to, we actually had our legislatures made aware. They had a presentation done by the Director of Public Health and the problems with the opioid, as everybody is aware. And so we had some of our legislatures reach out to their constituents, especially the services that they, and we actually got markedly improved response. So I think that there's a lesson there. If we get our legislatures involved, most of them are still pretty oblivious to the problems that exist in the pre-hospital world. We have that big MCI tabletop scenario kit that's available. It's going to be utilized at Spring Fling. It'll be up there. The Herkimer program is still going strong at the Bruce Wright Conference Center. They're doing their classes there pretty regularly now, especially at the weekends. So that's been a great asset. There is a active shooter / killer disaster drill, if you will, going to be held out at Fort Drum. The tabletop exercise for that is actually this week with the full-scale test on June 10th. On January 8th, we met with the some of the MEDAC powers to be, MEDAC commander, the Guthrie Clinic commander, if you will, and we all sat around this boardroom, and the topic was basically the mutual aid. They're in the process of getting that renewed, so that is a work in progress.
Thank you.
One of the things that has been a big bonus, and I will put it out here, is that we have, through our involvement over the last year or so, we've developed quite a good working relationship. And Fort Drum's military side of the house do what they refer to as the Guardian Academy. They put that on 3 or 4 times a year. It's where they put all of their military police, their federal officers, fire, EMS. It is the equivalent of the
Department of Homeland.
yeah, it's the same course that they do in a rescue.
Rescue task.
Rescue Task Force, oh my God. So they will be doing a 3-day course, and they have opened their doors to allow our EMS providers to participate. They're giving us 15 slots. So it's a 3-day course that will be offered probably 3 or 4 times a year. Again, it's the same format as what is done in the rescue that we do here at Fort Drum. First one's gonna be in March. We just, we'll find out the dates at our tabletop exercise Wednesday. So that's a big bonus. Public health management team, we spent 2 wonderful, glorious days with Neil Reidenberg and had the ICS 200 training in our conference room. I'll say no more. We're working with SMERIT. We have a ChemPack tabletop scheduled in the near future. They're still working on getting the date finalized. We're still putting out a lot of classes. ACLS, PALS are going to be offered here, hopefully in the late spring or into the rest of the year. We're hopefully putting them on twice a year. We just had implemented classes that we are going to do at minimum of twice a year. I have spoken with Liz and John, Liz Donnelly, John McMillan down in Albany, and they basically said we can do this as many times. They encourage us to do it 2 to 3 times a year or more, and that is putting on updates for our CICs and CLIs. Their statement is there's no restriction to how many we can do. So to that end, what I have done is I've reached out and have spoken to several of our educators in the immediate area who have graciously agreed to put on classes for us that are strictly educational methodology. So if you're a CIC, CLI, you have to have that update. It has to be 3 hour, and then you have to have the 5 additional hours for a total of 8 for your research. We're going to be offering 2-hour classes at least once a year, and we'll do a full update at least once a year. The next one that we plan, we just did one on the 29th of January. We had 6 people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when we only have 18 total, that our CLI, CICs in the area, that was a pretty good turnout. But we want to open that up. Ann was gracious enough to put it onto the calendar, but we'll get that notifications out because those are the tough hours for people to get to. So we're going to put them into our schedule.
Yes, thank you. I got my last remaining hours for my.
Friendly reminder on that, folks. You gotta hit the one that has the state staff one, if I may, just to clarify
Yep.
that. The rest can be, any type educational methods, but you have to get that one.
Right.
And that typically you do every other year at spring clean where you can get that done and so forth. Just a friendly reminder that people get, like, oh, got 10 hours. And it's like, yeah, but you don't have this.
You don't have the one with course number.
Right.
So that's really, the other thing we're working on is working with our 911 center. There's been some issues with dispatching. We're, like everybody else, having issues with assets being deployed where there's miscommunication. So we're working with our center and colleagues in the fire side of the house, the emergency management, get that kind of worked through. That's what I have.
Any questions for Paul on Jefferson County? St. Lawrence County, who's going to, can you give, one of you guys give a report?
Arm wrestle.
Oh,
She's the advisory chair.
I believe there's 3 towers that are gonna be completed by the end of June, which will be great, because there's a lot of dead spots. And then they're gonna continue to upgrade the radio system. I don't know if we reported this last time or not. We now have an emergency manager, and a deputy director of emergency services. So maybe we'll have a mutual aid plan in the near future to present to you guys, because it's a humongous county with a lot of agencies, and when you start looking at mutual aid plans in St. Lawrence County, we've learned that it's a much more daunting process than we thought it was going to be, and then on Friday afternoons, we should not be doing daunting processes, because we did some really weird stuff.
Anything, Art, do you have anything from that?
We're currently running a basic, EMT basic class with 21 students in it right now. And our plans for the fall, current plans for the fall is a basic course, CFR, and a basic refresher.
No plans for an advanced course at this time?
No, we don't have it.
Anything else, Dan, Mark?
Off the top of my head, no. Carol, did I space on something? I don't think so. There was nothing really big.
Any questions for St. Lawrence County? How about Bob with Lewis County?
So we're still monitoring our scratch rates within our county. The year closed out with most agencies above 90%. Quite a few agencies achieved 100%, and we had 2 agencies that were at 41% completed calls. So we are still monitoring those scratch rates. I'm not going to single out, nor will I mention any agencies. If any agencies want to come and talk to me about it, they're more than welcome to. And I've been keeping that rule right from the beginning, but at least we're staying aware of it. The mutual aid agreement has been signed by all but 2 agencies, and hopefully it'll be approved at this at this level. We've already put it out to our legislative committee, and they definitely are on board with it. They think that it's definitely due. So the EMT class at Search and Rescue finished up with 12. With 13 students altogether. One's going to test in June. I personally gave a presentation to our legislators about the fewer and fewer EMS providers and people wanting to do this. And with the increase in the EMS call volume, pretty much I got the blank stare and yeah, nice. Just a nod. It's trying to get them to understand the urgency. We ain't nothing till you need us. Sorry, that's just the way it is. I'm looking forward to doing that March 26th Tug Hill Commission presentation with Ann. Hopefully we'll get some better people there. So to put things into perspective, the Tug Hill Commission is our town, village, and community leaders and village councils, etc. They are, there's about 600 of them. And that goes from Oswego County all the way up to St. Lawrence County, and it's a nice chance to get local people who actually may know their EMS agencies within their respective areas and actually may have them as their neighbors to understand the crisis that we're in as far as our dwindling numbers and the actual expenses for EMS to run. So I am truly looking forward to that. The end of the year was a tough year for Lewis County. We had 2 fatal fires in November, which is remarkable, and that was within 30 days. I reached out to our CISM team leader And we had a great chat today, and she feels the same way I do, that they were grossly underutilized in our county. I really think that we need to bring more awareness, and we need to utilize them more frequently. It's just my 2 cents. I did 2 Amish trainings this fall, and I've got 1 scheduled and 1 tentative for spring. I do that personally. I do it gratis, and I'll do it anywhere throughout the county. But those of people who have had it enjoy it a great deal. I enjoy doing it, and hopefully people get a lot out of it. So, other than that, my phone's always on. Everybody knows where to find me. Thank you.
Any questions for Bob for Lewis County? And Bob came over to South Jeff and did that program for the southern end of the county, and we had a lot of people there, and they really got a lot out of that, because we're seeing a growing Amish population in southern Jefferson County, so it was good to have that training, so we appreciated them coming over.
What kind of training is it?
It's insights on treatment of the Amish, and basically it's not a blood pressure and pulse type course, it's a culture course. And some of the unique illnesses seen within the Amish community that you would rarely see in the English world.
It's very good.
There's a difference
Yeah.
between Amish.
What's that?
There's a difference between, like, your Amish and my Amish are totally different lifestyles.
That's correct. And I do it soup to nuts. I do it right from St. Lawrence County Amish all the way down to Ohio Amish. I don't focus on any one group because it's broad spectrum.
A suggestion, if I may, we're looking for presentations of vital signs, that may be something you want to consider.
Call for presenters just went out.
Yeah.
I haven't got it out,
Thursday.
but I have it in my email.
Yeah, 'cause I'm just thinking that might be something you want to put in for vital signs. That
It'd be an
might
honor.
State, that might be something that would make a lot of sense statewide.
You pay for my hotel room, I'll do anything for you, John.
Write it down, huh?
John said,
Yeah, I hear Ryan now. John said what? There, I just suggested.
absolutely, I appreciate it.
Okay, moving on, old business. So CMAC, Matt Maynard's, my understanding is all his stuff has gone in to get him vested. REMSCO is Mark and the alternate is Ann, and they have been taken care of, so we're set there. Lewis County Mutual Aid Agreement. And we apologize because we were supposed to do this at the last meeting and I didn't have it on my list and
That was an Ann Club.
It's okay, I'm frequently ignored.
we missed it, so. It was sent out. Does anybody have any questions for Bob on the Lewis County Mutual Aid Agreement?
I do quick.
Please.
Why did the 2 agencies not sign?
They haven't signed yet.
They have, so it's not they're not refusing to, they
No,
just haven't
it's just,
yet.
they haven't turned it back into the office.
Thank you.
Any questions? Not hearing any, I'm going to ask that we vote on accepting Lewis County's Mutual Aid Agreement as presented.
Motion.
Motion to accept, second. Bobby, so Carol and Bobby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Do you need a letter from me saying that we approved it? You need something?
As long as it's in the minutes, or if you got time to do a letter, great, that'd be appreciated.
Difficult airway contract, we've been discussing this, they sent it over. Paul has reviewed it, I've reviewed it, I don't know if any others had a chance to look at it. But there are some fees associated with that, which we've discussed, and the money is there to do that. That's under that other services, so that's where those funds would come from. I had a specific conversation with Albany. Is this considered a contractual? Because it is a contract, is that where it goes, or does it go into other? They felt because it was training that it should go under other, so that won't be coming out of the contractual, but out of the other services. So we are experiencing some difficulty. We're going to make a couple calls tomorrow and escalate it up the ladder with the people at Difficult Airway, because as Paul mentioned, it's going to be kind of difficult to do 1 in 2 weeks when we haven't even gotten that out to folks yet. So we had already approved going ahead and signing that. I just wanted to bring you up to speed with where we're at on that. So that will proceed so that we can get that going. Any other old business from the floor?
Radio system was mentioned for St. Lawrence County. Jefferson County's new radio system is actually up and running. But there's only one talk group on it, and that's for testing purposes. They'll be doing a lot of that between now and when they bring things on. The first people that are gonna come on will be the public service folks, the highway departments, public safety and stuff like that. Or not public safety, but, you know, DPWs, highways, whatever. So they can work that out, and then, and that's gonna be this spring, hopefully. And then, the public safety will come on late spring, early summer. There'll be a lot of training going on between now and then. They're still working on the protocols, how they're actually gonna handle it. Each radio is gonna have 16 positions on the top of the radio, and each of the 16 will be in use. Plus, there'll be banks of stuff, so we can go to to Onondaga and other stuff that we still have. Clayton will have Marine on their radios, so they've got dual band radios. So that type of thing is yet to come. We'll probably be doing some train the trainer. Going to try to keep it as simple as we can. As far as I know, I think I'm going to be one of the trainers on that. But it is coming. You know, we've been talking about it for a long time, and it's almost there.
New business, just a couple things on Spring Fling. We're introducing a couple new things. Thursday night is going to be Taco Thursday. So those that are registered for the conference Thursday night will be able to have a free taco buffet bar as an incentive. We're going to be doing that on Thursday. Saturday morning and Sunday morning, we're going to be doing yoga for first responders, and it's going to be free as well. And if you need that mandatory well-being of the EMT, this will cover that for you for your CME. So anxious to see how that is going to work. And we got a bunch of different things in the works, and we're going to try to get all that finalized and going here. Other new business, John? Why don't you speak and introduce the lady sitting next to you?
I'd like to introduce everybody, Kathy Nix. Kathy is our new person in the office who's running around, working on Lifeline, running around. She's feeling her way through the great New York State EMS program. And I'll let Kathy tell you a little bit about herself and all that stuff.
Hi, I'm Kathy Mix. I've been in EMS for about 30 years, doing a lot of QI, CIC, and CLI. Joined the Bureau just about a month ago, and then just being sponge and just trying to absorb as much as I can. I wish I had a computer download where I could just, it would be awesome. In a nutshell.
We're super excited, obviously, to have Kathy on board, more and more area. Couple things just to kind of, couple of things. One, this end date on the courses is becoming important. Let me explain why. End date is why we will then say everybody is eligible to go take a written. Because if you can't do it before then, even though they've passed the course. In other words, they got the skills done, they all that. That gives us the 2 weeks to basically process the paperwork. But when they go online and test, they get printed out a temporary card, which then will be the permanent card will come in the mail. So the point is, that's the big change there. The card is good. Not like right now where you get a result, you can't do anything with it to get the card. So that's one big change there. Electronic CME submissions. Yes, we're going to it. We're not there yet. I just need to make that point because people are bugging all day about where is it, how do you do it? We're not there yet. There's a new program out running. I would hope in the next couple of months, but I've not heard, Kath, I don't think heard exactly when that's going to start, but it is in the works and definitely going to happen. Oh boy, the coronavirus. Couple of things. One, it was said earlier, and I can't stress it enough, every day it's a new adventure with this bug, okay? We've read the reports would have said, well, the flu is a bigger deal. And that's true to a certain degree because we're killing more people with the flu right now, and this is a new bug. However, like any new bug, it starts off small, but it has the potential to grow. And obviously, the other concern that everybody has is it's currently a contact virus. If it goes airborne or other things, it changes its handling characteristics, and could be a big deal. What is in our policy statement is pretty much off what the CDC is telling us right now. We just put our New York stuff on. There's a couple of New Yorkisms there, but generally it's the CDC stuff. If you haven't fit tested you folks in a while, it might be time. By the way, we mean by fit testing, I don't care which way you do it, quantitative or qualitative, pick a methodology and go deal with it. Yeah, for the guys who got beards and goatees or, and interferes, you gotta shave them to do that. There's a whole big other thing about, well, if I got facial bumps, do I buy a PAPR respirator for my employee? Take it up with the Department of Labor, but I think you're gonna find out the answer is yes. Okay, but that's a whole other discussion. At any rate, there's a lot of things that are going to change and evolve. May I also remind everybody that the Commissioner's order on SARS, where yearly you have to take and every year put all your employees into full PPE, as that has never been rescinded. So my suggestion is, in the upcoming couple of months here of doing your annual research on bloodborne pathogens, it seems like this time of year is when we do bloodborne pathogen, it'd probably be a good idea to remind your folks about how to put on all that stuff appropriately. The other questions we've gotten is, well, does this mean we're going to go back now and everybody's going to call? Did you do international travel? Does anybody have a fever like the 911 centers, or, all that? It's too early to tell, okay? It's too early to tell. Could we? Maybe. Don't know, okay? But at the moment, there's not been that recommendation. Well, the moment is last night when I was on. I don't, what I'm trying to say, it changes. At the moment, no, I'd say that's not there, but we just don't know. Anyway, please keep an eye on the web pages and keep on looking there in terms of going through that. Last thing, the employment report that was put out with related to salaries and EMS careers and so forth. Folks, everybody in this room needs, it's only about 20 pages or so.
It's 12.
12 pages. 12, okay. I will offer it's worth the read. It's sad in some cases, but it paints a picture of what our industry is and is not, okay? And this is one of those ones we hope people will take out when you meet with a legislator or meet with some of your local officials who don't understand what it's about. Take it to them, say, here, why don't you read this for a few minutes? And they may get a better understanding of what we are and who we are. And part of the problem we're having in recruiting and retaining people, especially on the career side of this industry, is the lack of financial reimbursement in comparison to other industries. So it's something we need to look at and go from there. Hey, thank you.
Any questions for John? Next thing I had on was the meeting date changes. That was sent out to you ahead of time. With the new state council meeting being added June 9th and 10th, I'm proposing we move the June meeting to the 15th. And October, there's a council meeting 6th and 7th, and I'm proposing we move that to the 19th. Not the week prior, because that is a holiday, so I avoided the holiday and went to the 19th. Any questions on that? Could I have a motion to make those changes?
That's the third Monday of the month, Deb?
Which one?
October. Yes.
Because the second one is a holiday. So we have a motion and a second to move those dates. We will update that and put that back out with everything so that you'll have it.
Who did
All
the
those,
first and second on that?
Bruce and Bobby.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Any other new business from the floor?
I have something quickly. One of the things that came up at the REMSCO meetings, and I think it's important to highlight, is there was a presentation from the Code Green campaign on provider health. And when you look at the statistics as far as, they're escaping me at this very moment, but EMS has a 2.5% higher suicide rate than the average. Suicidal ideation is 20% higher than other industries, et cetera. There's a lot of reasons why for it. The Code Green campaign seemed very interested in engaging with having a bigger presence in New York State, probably through this body would be a great way to do it.
We did that. We had Code Green stuff at Spring Fling 2 years ago. And we gave away stuff, trying to get them up here. They're working out of their garage. Is where the stuff, unless things have changed.
She's expanded a little bit.
She-
She's into Pennsylvania.
Because I tried to get somebody up here, but we weren't, but that we gave out the stickers and the brochures, so we can certainly look at doing that again.
I know that at Guilfoyle's Teaching Day, they are going to have a presence, to my understanding. I also know that Onion has engaged with them a fair amount to try and improve the wellness statewide. So it's a worthy cause.
Leah Benoit, retired minister from Church of West, is actually doing a presentation at my OSHA Refresher Day next Sunday on firefighter suicide. That's not what we're calling it because we don't want to scare people too bad when they first see the title, but that's basically what it's going to be about. So it's possible that if you want something in your agency, get a hold of him.
Who's doing it?
Leah Benoit.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah,
He's good.
he may be willing to come down and talk to your agency, the meeting or whatever. I'm giving him about an hour to talk, and I don't know how long it's gonna take. But it's definitely, it's certainly a big thing in the fire service right now as well, law enforcement, every place, so. Everybody's got an issue with it.
Any other new business?
I'd just like to add and build on, we are doing our first ever educational day at Guilfoyle on March 14th. We are pulling in some nationally renowned speakers, and Dwayne Petrie and Jeff Call at Guilfoyle have worked very hard on this. It's something that we're going to be pretty proud of, I think, at the end of the day. So it's Saturday, March 14th. Registration starts at 8. I believe the conference starts at 8:39, goes through till about 5 o'clock, and then there'll be a 2-hour mixer afterwards. I believe the cost is $25 a person.
Any other new business? So our next meeting is scheduled for April 6th. That will be our annual meeting. And we will have things there to review for Spring Fling as well. We'll have the sign-up sheets to get some volunteers to help staff everything at Spring Fling. So assistance would be appreciated. So assistance tonight before you leave would be appreciated. All of these have to be put back together. All that stuff needs to be hauled back down to my vehicle. We need to make sure this room is set for FDRHPO tomorrow to come in and be able to hold it for their meeting. So if everybody gives us 10 minutes, we can have it all done, and there won't be 2 or 3 of us here for an hour trying to finish that. If nobody has anything else, I'll entertain an adjournment.
Make it.
Bobby made a motion, Ron seconded. All those in favor? Thank you.
2032.